For 27 long years, Paul Hermann Feustel lived a life of quiet deception. To those around him in West Germany, he was an ordinary man, a face in the crowd who had simply moved on from the chaos of the past. But Feustel was living on borrowed time. Beneath his unassuming exterior was a man who had once wielded absolute power as the Gestapo chief of Benešov in occupied Czechoslovakia. He believed that with every passing decade the blood on his hands was fading. He believed the world had forgotten the butcher of Benešov. He was wrong. Feustel's journey into darkness began long before he became a fugitive. As a high-ranking SS officer, he was a true believer in the Nazi machinery of terror. When he was stationed in Benešov, his name became synonymous with fear. He didn't just target armed partisans, he turned his fury toward innocent civilians. Under his direct command, the Gestapo transformed the region into a landscape of gallows and interrogation rooms. Feustel was a man who personally signed death warrants and oversaw mass executions, even in the final months of the war when the defeat of the Third Reich was already inevitable. To him, the ideology of hate was more important than the reality of the collapsing front lines. When the war ended in 1945, Feustel did what many of his rank attempted. He vanished. He slipped across the borders and integrated into the fabric of post-war West Germany, hiding behind a new identity and the general amnesia of a rebuilding nation. For years, he watched the headlines as other high-profile Nazis were captured and hanged, yet he remained untouched. He likely thought he had beaten the system. However, the East German Ministry for State Security, known as the Stasi, along with Czechoslovak investigators, had never closed his file. They spent decades piecing together testimonies and tracking his movements through the fragmented remains of Gestapo records. In 1971, the shadows finally caught up with him. Feustel was identified, arrested, and brought to trial in East Berlin. The courtroom became a bridge across time, as elderly witnesses from Benešov stood to face the man who had terrorized their families nearly 30 years prior. The trial laid bare the horrific details of his crimes, specifically his role in the murder of 42 civilians and the deportation of hundreds to death camps. The defense of following orders found no purchase in a court faced with such direct evidence of personal cruelty. The verdict was inevitable: death. On May 8, 1972, in a prison in Leipzig, the long run of Paul Hermann Feustel finally came to a halt. In accordance with the execution methods of East Germany at the time, he was killed by a single shot to the back of the neck. It was a clinical, quiet end for a man who had caused so much noise and suffering during his reign of power. His execution, coming 27 years after the war, stands as a powerful testament to the fact that for some crimes, there is no statute of limitations and no place deep enough to hide from the reach of justice.